Hey guys, Will here, and today I'm going to talk about a really disappointing movie. Jason Lee Howden is a visual artist that worked in movies like Avengers, Lord of the Rings, War for the Planet of the Apes, and many more. But in 2015, he launched his first full-length movie, Deathgasm. It's a really meh movie. It feels like it was made by a teenager. You can read my full thoughts on it on my Letterboxd, the link is in the description. But in 2019, he released his second movie, Akimbo, with Radcliffe as the main character. And yes, this is the movie from those pictures of him that went viral a few years ago. At the time that this movie got announced, I got hyped for it. It felt like the type of film that I like, but unfortunately, I was wrong. I'll spoil the major plot points of the movie here, so if you haven't watched it yet, go do it. Or not, it's not that worth it. But let's go, Akimbo. We start with a giant hologram head, talking about the internet.
You sit on your computers, liking pictures of smiling babies, sharing inspirational quotes, but what you really want to see is death. You click on horrific news headlines, violence, destruction, terrorism, war, because it makes your shitty little lives seem that little bit less shitty. You want to go viral? Schism is the virus.
Then it cuts to a live stream of that Schism thing. It's basically a death game with two competitors trying to kill each other. This one is Nyx versus Vadim. They shoot each other cars, and after some time, Nyx eventually wins. And there's a bizarre overlapping mistake on the cars. Then it goes to the title screen. Then our main character, Miles, starts to narrate. He talks about Schism, how it's famous and bizarre. Then he starts talking about himself, how he wanted to be a hero as a kid, but now works as a video game programmer in one of those cash grab mobile games. We see him working, and then his co-worker tries to warn him, but his boss plays a prank on him, and then he's fired. A fun fact here, Miles' co-worker actor is the same as the main character in Deathgasm, so there's that. Oh, and Miles is asthmatic, that's important later. We cut to later at night. Miles enters at Schism. He explains that the game picks criminals to fight each other, and we see that he likes to hate and troll people online. And he likes it when they get angry at him. There's a montage of him typing and trolling people on Schism's chat. After some time, a Schism admin answers Miles. It tells him that they're going to break his hand if he doesn't stop. Miles responds it. Then the admin sends his IP address. Miles then closes the computer. His phone then rings. It's a message from Miles' girlfriend, Nova. And there's a awful long sequence of them texting each other. In the end of it, they decide to go on a date. Miles then sleeps on the couch and dreams about a date. May I remind you that his IP address was just discovered by a company that puts people to kill each other, and he's suddenly okay with that. He wakes up with someone knocking at his door. They break into his apartment. It's the people from Schism. Miles starts to apologize to them, and they say that they're going to do something with his hands. Miles wakes up the next day. He tries to get his phone, but well... He then goes to take his oxygen. This scene is done in one take, and it's pretty cool. Miles' phone rings. It's a message from Schism. It says that his opponent is Nyx. It says that if he fails, he dies. And if he tries to leave the city, he also dies. Then, there's this part that I hate. Miles asks himself, who's Nyx? Then, it cuts to a scene of her doing some pretty cool stuff. But what I dislike here is that we already know who Nyx is. The movie literally starts with her. But then this scene presents her again, like we didn't know already. The movie should have only this scene to show her. It's way better than the first one, it does a better job at presenting the character, and by the first one's existence, this one loses its power. The scene itself is okay, it's well directed, but there's some really bad CG blood, and some really strange cuts. By some text messages, we learn that Nyx is on Schism because of some deal, and that after one more fight, she'll have her part of it. We go back to Miles, as he's trying to get dressed. And of course, he can't. He goes out of his apartment, and Nyx is there ready to kill him. She's shooting at him, he hides from her, he manages to distract her and run away. And might I say, Nyx has a pretty bad aim with Miles. See her missing these shots after we just saw what she can do is a little strange. Miles sees two police officers and tries to get help from them. But well, he has two guns attached to his hands. The police points their guns at him, Miles runs off from them, he's out of breath and forgot his inhaler at home. He then accidentally shots one officer. Miles gets to the park where he was supposed to meet with Nova. Then...
No! Nova! No! Hey!
He said that his hands are hurting because he programmed all night. She has a spare inhaler in the car and gives it to Miles. He tries to explain to Nova what is happening.
Can I show you something? But you have to promise me to be cool with it.
Sure.
Okay, just be prepared, alright? Don't freak.
What the fuck, Miles? Get out! Fuck! What's wrong with you? Don't freak out! God! Put me through the police.
Miles hides on an alley. He asks a homeless guy to help him get his pants up. We then see Nova at the police station, talking about Miles. The cops there let her go, but hack into her phone in case Miles calls her or something. We learn that they are after Nix. It goes back to Miles and the homeless guy. And this part is way too long and unnecessary. It's just to make jokes, but none were actually funny. Miles goes to his workplace. He asks his friend for help. His boss starts to pick on him, then... Nix get to him. They shoot each other a little, then Miles go to the garage of the building and get a car. Nix get a motorcycle and chase after him. For a moment we see Miles' friend. He's watching everything on his phone, when someone gets him. Nix and Miles crash. Miles continues to run from her. After some fight, Nix tells Miles that Schism is going to clean her name after she kills him. And they start to fight again. This whole sequence is so boring, the movie managed to make a car chase followed by a gunfight boring. Miles shoots some cans that explode and set fire to a thing. Nix started the fire in shock. We get some flashes of her as a child, with her parents in a car that is exploding. Miles sees that and runs away. Why he did not shoot her? I don't know. Miles calls Nova. He's going to say goodbye to her and leave the town. And god, these two characters have zero chemistry. But anyway, the big bad guy gets her. He says that if Miles doesn't kill Nix, they're going to kill Nova. Miles goes to a junkyard and call the police. He says that he knows where Nix is gonna be. He stumbles upon a gang. The gang members say that they will shoot Miles. But then, Nix shows up. And this scene is actually a little funny.
Suck my clit. No one is killing fuckboy here.
Yay!
Except me, of course.
Oh.
Eventually, the police arrives. The CG blood in this movie looks so bad, Miles gets terrified, because that was the first person he ever killed. And the police gets Miles. They're going to use him to bait Nix. One of the officers explains that Nix is actually his daughter, that's why he's after her. And that the guy who exploded his car was Richter, the leader of Schism. The big bad guy, or Richter, tells Nova that he owns the cops. Then, Nix's father partner kills him. Richter tells Miles via video that he has 30 minutes to kill Nix, or he will kill Nova. He finds a van with the Schism guys inside. They're with Nova in a hood. They shoot her in front of Miles, then go away. He goes to the body, and it was in fact his friend that they killed. Miles makes Nix go to him. He asks for her help. She refuses, then...
You in?
Well, no.
Miles is dead. Schism then takes his body. And of course he's not dead. Nix was with him already. Then a flashback shows how he convinced her to help him. They get into Schism's headquarters. There's a lot of shooting, with a lot of fake CG blood, and a lot of unnecessary slow motion. After a bunch of literally nothing happening, like seriously, Miles and Nix just stand here talking about nothing for minutes. Miles finds in this computer that Richter has a plan to expand Schism globally. The two henchmen from the beginning of the movie get to them, and they start a fight. And oh, a reference to that Gasm poster. After some time, with some decent fights between Miles, Nix and the two henchmen, Miles kills the one that was after him, and then accidentally explodes some gas tubes that the other one was close to. Richter takes Nova and is going to the roof to catch a helicopter and run away. Miles runs out of ammo. In fact, he has just one bullet left in his right hand. They go to the wrong direction and are now with a lot of bad guys with them. Nix then sacrifices herself to make Miles go through.
No! Wait!
Now, Nix is dead. Nova manages to leave a message for Miles. He gets to the rooftop and fights Richter with her. After some blabber between Miles and Richter, he shoots his last bullet and... Richter shoots Miles, but it doesn't kill him. He gets up, and Richter keeps shooting at him. Nova manages to get off Richter's arms. Miles then starts to beat him up, and throws Richter off the building. Now, Miles won the game. He then starts to narrate, says that a lot of people stopped watching Schism after the night. It then cuts to some time in the future. He doesn't have the guns in his hands anymore, and Nova made a comic book about him, called Guns Akimbo. He said that Schism didn't disappear, and now he has a job to do, kill every other manager of Schism in the world. And the movie ends. Guns Akimbo is really something. Trust me when I say that I just put the important parts of the movie in this video, because there's so many useless and unnecessary things in it. Scenes that are just for jokes with no real use. Other scenes that drag for too much time. These scenes with people cheering and watching the whole game, that will be okay at some points, but this shows up for the whole movie. I think that this movie shares with the director's previous one is the teenage humor and tone. Every joke is edgy and most of the time it's not really good. There's a ton of references to video games just shoved at your face. It's not subtle in any way. Sometimes it's literally the character saying and explaining these references. And it just comes out as pretentious. It's like the director wanted for the audience to think that the movie was cool and hip. The movie has some clear inspirations. The two that stand out the most for me are John Wick and Scott Pilgrim, but it doesn't do none of those right. When it tries to do a John Wick thing, the director is incompetent enough to make those fight scenes. And when doing Scott Pilgrim, the movie isn't subtle and smart with the screen inserts and effects. Most of the times it's just annoying and strange. The thing is that the movie takes itself too seriously to pull a Scott Pilgrim, but at the same time it takes itself too silly to pull a John Wick. One other thing that really bothers me here is the acting. I love Daniel Radcliffe and I think that he's a really decent actor, but god, he feels weird here. And not just him, every other actor felt like they were awkward filming this. I couldn't care for any of the characters because of this. And speaking of characters, they're bad. Miles is the least bad, but for me the two biggest offenders here are Nix and Richter, the two main antagonists of the movie. Nix has too little development and feels bland, and Richter, Jesus Christ, the guy's the big boss, the biggest villain of the movie. But if it weren't because of this video, I wouldn't even remember his name. He doesn't do a thing for 90% of the movie. Aside from taking Miles in the beginning of the movie and Nova at the end, he spends the rest of the film in his headquarters, doing some awful jokes and looking at screens. The movie tries to tell a message about social media addiction and internet trolls, but it doesn't really land. And it bugs my mind that the director of this movie worked as a visual artist in movies like this?
I did not start this war.
But the VFX stuff in this film are just awful. Fake CG blood, bad tracking, overlapping errors, and all those things about the movie without mentioning the director's controversies in real life. Overall, Guns Akimbo is a bad movie. It doesn't have a clear tone to it. The directing is really uninspired. The editing is awful at times. The acting is awkward, the characters are bland, the story has potential but it's poorly executed. And overall, the movie is forgettable. If I haven't found it so bad, I would have already forgotten basically everything about it. But I think that was it. Watch Guns Akimbo if you want, but remember, you were warned. Well, I hope you liked this video. Till the next time, stay safe and have a lice knife.